Brai Odion-Esene is the founder of SW4 Insights Inc. Now, that's a public policy advisory firm based here in Washington. He says both Beijing and Washington are eager to reach an agreement.
China definitely wants a deal. U.S. businesses most definitely want a deal because they are paying record amounts in tariffs right now to the U.S. Treasury as a result of the tariffs Trump has imposed. But I do think President Trump, based on promises he made during campaign season, he is willing to wait and exact a bit more pain to get a defined win. Because if you look at what just happened with the recently averted shutdown, where it didn't seem as clear that he won what he wanted, what he promised, I think in this situation he wants something a bit more clearer that he can take to his constituents and say, look, I inflicted pain on China and I extracted the maximum possible, which is structural reforms, IP protection, improved market access for U.S. companies. I think that's what he's aiming for. Whether he'll get that, it remains to be seen.
Yeah, most analysts I've been listening to say, look, you can probably get the small stuff out of the way. They can have some sort of deal, kick the can down the road for some of these deeper issues. Do you think that's likely?
Well, so I'm from the UK, and 2 years onwards, Brexit is still not resolved. There is no way 3 months was enough to address all these issues between the US and China. And there's talk of perhaps a 60-day extension to the March 1st deadline. I still don't think that's enough. I do think he will eventually realize that there will be a short-term announcement around perhaps trying to buy more goods from the U.S., whether it's soybeans or any other hard goods that he can again hold on and say, look, we're going to narrow the deficit between these two countries with this deal, and that will hopefully buy time for discussions around the more deeper issues that will take, as you say, more time to resolve.
And so, finally, I guess, do you think that there will be a meeting anytime soon between Trump and Xi where he actually inks a deal?
If there's meaningful progress made next week, and U.S. Trade Representative Robert Lighthizer indicates to the president that, you know what, there's enough here, or enough has been done, that we can sign something and still continue, then I think you will see the two leaders meet. But I don't think Trump will agree to anything until he's sure that it's a concrete agreement to be signed.
He just suffered a big defeat on the border wall. He sort of needs a win right now.
Exactly.
Would he be willing to have a minor win?
Well, the problem with a minor win is that then you have all the Monday morning quarterbacks coming out of the woodwork, especially on the conservative side, who will be too willing to criticize any shortcomings in this deal. And so I think he would want a more foolproof agreement where there are not only short-term gains, but also long-term improvements in the matters that I mentioned before, IP protection, market access, and more importantly, an enforcement mechanism so that if in his mind or in the US's mind, if China were to renege on any of these agreements, they could reinforce or they have some way to reimpose tariffs or some other way to make sure that China holds true. If those things are in place, then I think he would be more willing to say this is a win. I mean, it all dates back to the competition between these two countries. You're talking about the world's largest economies. One's number one, one's number two, one's aspiring to be number one. And so I think the root here is in that competition. And I don't think that will go away. And so you're correct that it seems very unreasonable to stroll in and say, hey, you've got an ambitious agenda to improve your economy, to pull millions of people out of poverty into the middle class and higher. But you know what, we don't like that. And it's purely based on U.S. national security concerns. It's not a rational thought the way you and I would say, okay, you know what, let's agree to disagree. I think there's very much something where, can middle ground be found? I don't think so. So I think, back to my original point, they will find some short-term gains to trumpet, but I think this is something that's going to drag on for, I can confidently say, decades or more.